It's a tricky week this week, wasn't it? There's such a big build-up to that Toulouse game for the group, and then you get through it, so you sort of have this sort of emotional piece, and you're trying to get through another week then. So obviously with a team that have a 2-week lead into the game, essentially. So credit to the players. I thought they were excellent this week, just how they went and applied themselves. Some of the guys coming in for the changes, obviously to freshen things up and try and deliver for themselves the opportunity that they have as well. Generally excellent, I have to say. So we're pleased to get through. Like, it's I don't think the score really reflected the game if you think about it. Obviously Sharks start well. They've a try chalked off the end. Missed a penalty before, turned a couple of shots at goal down before half time. So so we're pleased to get through is probably the point. But it was a little bit of a scrappy affair, I thought. But as I said, it was going to be a tricky week this week. We always feared, so we're pleased to be through it.
The yellow card in the first half was a big moment again for the second week in a row, though. You kind of take full advantage, get the 2 tries.
Credit to the players. They're seeing the space. On one, even Toy is getting treated in the backfield at one stage, and so they're able to exploit some of the space that's there. That's been good. Obviously Caelan does well to score the try, but it's double whammy obviously for them when they lose Pimpy to the bin as well. So but even again, obviously the end it gets a bit of gloss because it goes 28-12, the try gets chalked off and they lose another man to the bin, so then we're able to clear our lines and then we score. So as I said, I don't think the score was really reflective of the game, but as I said, we'll take it and move on, and we'll watch this other game with great interest now. I believe we're back here next Saturday at 5:30. So, even for supporters, like, it's a challenge, isn't it? Like, it's such an unusual dynamic. We talked about this over the last few weeks of this dynamic of playing a semi-final, followed by a quarter-final, then another competition semi-final. So, but anyway, we're getting through them, which is pleasing, and the group is in pretty good shape still, hopefully. So. Move on to the next challenge, which is next week, but we'll see how this game plays out.
So just tied at half time, is that an injury or?
He's okay, yeah. So it was nothing major, but anyway, brought Keane on. So Keane's the one, he had to come off there at the end, so just not 100% sure exactly what with him, but we'll get him checked out. He's probably more the worry at this immediate minute, but hopefully he's not too bad.
And just James Ryan, is he in a protective boot there before the match?
Yeah, I was just told he is wearing a protective boot. I think he's just looking for a bit of attention. So yes, he's fine, James. Yeah, he had a minor issue with his foot, but it's nothing major.
Leo, you must have been pleased with the defensive turnovers at critical times during the game.
They come up with some big plays at different stages, and that's why I say, like, the Sharks didn't really capitalise on some of the opportunities that they had. Would be my sense, and again they turned down a few shots at goal as well. And obviously missed that one just before half time after not kicking ones in front of the post. So we were sort of the beneficiary of some of those calls from the opposition, and but as you're right, the players come up with some good turnovers at different stages. Even Big Joe McCarthy there at the end, swimming through, getting the ball taken out at the end. So it wasn't far from a perfect performance from us, but it's enough to get us through. If you remember the quarterfinals last year, we had a big win against Glasgow, and there was lots of really positive things in that game, but then we weren't able to turn around the following week against the Bulls. So we just need to learn from the past, would be my sense at this exact moment in time. So try and learn from the past, how you back up that quarterfinal into a semi-final. So again, we'll see how the group are. There's a couple of guys who were lucky to not feature this week as well, so they'll come back into selection mix now as well. And it's great that we have another game to look forward to here at the Aviva. So as we talked about all through the course of the season, so get to this point with this sequence of playoff games, and here we are. So it's great to be involved in another one.
Some big games from some of the backbone of Leinster, Deegan, Carney, Mill, and what have you. Yeah. Thought Dave was great. Mikey Milne, really positive performance. Even come back on the end there as well. Porter moving back to tight head. It's been a while since we've seen him there, but he looked pretty efficient. Max gets in for a good try as well. Yeah. So who's the other person? You mentioned somebody else. But it was good, yeah. But that's what we talked about even yesterday. It's just the squad part.
And that we all felt that, like, as a group, coaches wise, like you would be doing the group a disservice if we didn't make changes and freshen things up and bring that fresh energy. So yeah, we're pleased with how the group is travelling together. So it's just important we enjoy this period now, isn't it? Like, so you're there and we're here playing in the Aviva. It's fantastic. So we get another sort of dress rehearsal, isn't it? But we'll see how Glasgow go. Glasgow Munster have had some pretty fiery encounters against each other over the last number of years, so I'm sure they'll have a good crack off each other. We're kicking off in 10 minutes time.
Leo, sorry, just in terms of that trickiness of the week, because it's a subdued atmosphere here, when you fall behind, are you in any way concerned about this? Are we confident that your team will find a way through and manage it?
I think we talked about that potential for the subdued atmosphere, because you're going off last week, which is what, 7,000, and you're in around 15 there today, say, probably maybe less, which is still like a decent attendance. Like, the challenge is, like, it's the sequence of games. Again, I don't know exactly how you get that spot on. To suit the spectator, I guess, the supporters. And when you're obviously when you have a South African team up here, or vice versa, if you have one of the Northern Hemisphere teams in South Africa, there's going to be next to no travelling support realistically. So there's still some challenges with that. But we're coming to the end of the second season of this competition, and it's the nature of the teams, like they're beast of teams, like the South African teams are. And I think it's hugely exciting for the future, but there's definitely a few challenges to get the sweet spot, isn't there? But yeah, like, the credit to the players, I think they were good in terms of weathering that initial storm that Sharks came with. They're very clear in what they're trying to do, and we talked a lot about some of those defensive pictures that the Sharks will present, and it wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we were able to find where the space was pretty regularly, and that's what created some of the opportunities where the tries were scored. So great crossfield kick from Harry to Jordan Larmour. Obviously Caelan was good in terms of how he took his try. We created some opportunities again where we went the length of the field, and then we get the penalty, and obviously kick the corner that gets stopped, and then there's that tap and go sequence where we get in, so Mikey Milne as well. So there's a good variety in there, and guys are putting their hand up, and that's what you want, so it gives us some positive selection headaches now. Back to your question already, so but that's what we want. We want it to be competitive. We want the group to be pushing each other on. So, but again, we know we've 2 more weeks now of enjoying each other's time, and hopefully we'll have a week after that as well. It'll be 3 weeks, but but big thanks to the support and everyone that turns out and just creates the interest in these games, because it's a challenge, isn't it? Because everyone goes, okay, we're back to the Aviva again. So there's challenge within that, isn't there? So for us, it's just trying to keep it fresh now. But we're very appreciative, for everyone that's here, you guys included. So because we need that interest in the game.
Leo, just quickly, one of the criticisms that have been levied against Leinster over the past couple of seasons is an inability to deal with physicality. And I mean, the La Rochelle final last year and Bulls semi-final, there was a physicality issues there. It seems like in the last 2 weeks in particular, you put those issues or those debates to bed a little bit. I mean, you were very dominant against a very powerful Sharks team today, dominating all the physical areas and those carries. Is that something that you've particularly been targeting, or what's your comments on that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think you've seen the guys, how they fronted up this season, whether it's with Leinster or more guys with Ireland as well, but it's definitely been a big focus point for us, like that physical piece and how we set our stall out in games. So players are working well. Sean O'Brien's come in around that contact area. He's been excellent in terms of how he's driven things. Had his window as head coach as well with the babies out in South Africa. But the coaches have been great now in terms of driving that. Because it's the game of rugby is very complex, but it's quite simple at the same time as well. Because it's based on a collision point between attackers and defenders, and guys have been working away in that area well.
And then were you happy with the way that the scrum performed after the Sharks rotated the front row? I think you won 2 or 3 scrum penalties immediately after the rotation of the Sharks front row. Are you happy with how your reserve front row performed? But then on the reverse side, the Sharks were dominant in the scrum before they rotated their front row. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I thought the scrum was messy, and some of those calls could have gone either way, really. The toy is on for 20-25 minutes, and he goes off, and so Sadie, when he comes on, is pretty fresh. So he gets a little bit of reward at that stage. They're so tight, some of the calls, don't they? I'm thinking you're with your Leinster hat on, and you're looking at the angles of where's their tight head going here. There was one both sides are sort of whipping around, and Sharks get the call there as well. And again, that's there's some of those calls that are incredibly tight, but again, we're pleased with how we problem solve. There's different changes for both teams as well, and I thought we looked pretty strong then as in the last 15-20 minutes of the game. So that's pleasing. But yeah, there's a ton of experience amongst our front rowers. Even Keane's moved across the tight head this week, and when he come off, Andrew Porter's finished the game as a tight head. Muscle memory kicks in and he does his job. So Mikey Milne, fair play to him, he comes back on after his 20-25 minutes on the sideline. So the guys are working away well, and Robin has been excellent with those guys.